In this video, I'm going to show you the basics of what's included in the kit and how to handle the camera. Included in the kit is a bag, the camera, the lens cap, the battery charger, a battery, and an SD card. The lens cap should always be on the camera whenever you're not using it. This keeps the lens protected from getting scratches. And also don't touch the lens with your fingers. That will just get it dirty unnecessarily and cause smudges and get in the way of your taking nice images. And if you do need to clean the lens, make sure you do it with a lens cloth. Don't use your t-shirt or a paper towel or anything. Make sure you're using something made specifically for cleaning the lens. Whenever you're opening the camera, make sure that it is turned off. So to turn it off, you just press this button and the camera is turned off. The bottom of your camera, you have a slot here. You open that up to find your battery and your SD card. Press that button to release it and just press down on the SD card to remove it. Inside the battery compartment, there are 3 little magnetic strips down there at the bottom right. Line those up with the magnetic strips on the battery. Place it inside the camera. If you put it in the right way, it shouldn't need to be forced. It will just seat right in there nicely. And you will notice on the SD card slot, there's a diagram with a little notch showing you the direction to put the SD card in. Press that down to seat it in there. And then close the battery compartments, and you're ready to take pictures. Power the camera on. There we go. If it's the first time you're using the camera, you're going to need to set the date and time. To do that, you can use the controls over here to choose the month, the day, and the year, and the time. And then hit set, and it'll ask you to choose your time zone. We are on the West Coast, so that's going to be LA. There it is, Los Angeles. Press right here in the middle. The date is set. Right at the top of the camera is your mode dial, which you want mostly for this class. We're going to use manual mode, aperture priority, shutter priority, or program mode. So you want to line up whatever mode you want to use with that little dot there. So set this today for aperture priority, and whatever mode you're in, that is, like for example, if we're in aperture priority, you will choose the aperture by adjusting using this dial here. You can choose your f-stop, and the camera is going to choose your ISO and your shutter speed for you. If you're in shutter priority, you use the same exposure dial right there, and you can see down here, it's got a little picture of that exposure dial. As you adjust the exposure dial, you're changing your shutter speed. So you can speed it up to go really fast here. This is, for this camera, it goes, the max shutter is, the fastest it'll go is 2,000th of a second. And you can slow it down for a longer exposure. Here we go. This here is a full second exposure. And I think for these cameras, it probably goes to like the longest exposure you can have on these cameras is 15 seconds, which is pretty long. Okay, so a good starting place is 1/125th of a second. Of course, that's going to depend on your shot and your lighting conditions. Okay. If you're in program mode, you're going to choose the ISO, and the camera is going to choose everything else for you. So right now the ISO is set to auto, which means the camera is basically in auto mode and it chooses everything. If you want to change the ISO, Click that button right there and use the exposure dial. You want to choose your ISO. You just use the joystick on the back here to choose your ISO and press set when you have it where you want it. Okay. Manual mode, you're going to choose all of the exposure settings. So you have your shutter speed, your f-stop, and your ISO. Right now, we see the exposure dial is defaulting to shutter speed. So if I adjust the exposure dial, it's going to change the shutter speed. Okay. If I want to change the ISO, I press that ISO button and I can choose my ISO. To adjust the aperture, I click on the plus and minus button here, and you'll see that the exposure dial is now activated on the aperture. So you're using the same dial here, but you just have to activate it back and forth by pressing on this exposure button there. Right here you can see your light meter. My lens cap is on, so it's telling me I'm way underexposed. If I open that up, I will see that it's metering my shot as overexposed. So I'm going to speed up the shutter here. Let's put something in my shot. There we go. And now my exposure dial is set right there in the middle, and I know that I've got a good exposure. I can take my shot. To take my shot, I'm going to press the shutter release here. I can zoom in or zoom out using this here. The zoom in would be onto the single tree, and zooming out. There we go. I want to frame my shot by zooming in or out. Zoom in, you'll see the telephoto will engage, and to zoom out to a wide angle, press to the left. And then if you hold down lightly, you'll hear a single beep. Autofocus will focus it, and then when you're ready to take your shot, press down all the way and it'll take your shot. To review your images, you use this playback button here. Press on that, and that will show you your image that you took. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, you can click on the trash button to delete it, and then toggle over to erase and hit set to erase it. To erase all of the pictures on a card, you would go into the menu and go through here to find the reformat button to reformat the card. And that will erase, formatting the card will reformat it and erase all the pictures on it. Set, OK, and set again. And it's saying all data on the card will be erased. OK. That's if you're turning the camera back in and you want to erase everything. When you're finished taking pictures, you want to turn the camera off. You want to put the lens cap on and store the camera safely in the bag and in your house. Never leave the camera in your car. If you have any questions, your instructor will be happy to help. Thanks for watching the Canon PowerShot SX540 Basics tutorial presented by Harbor High.